Chapter 13, The Brain and the Cranial Nerves. So most of it is already gone over, but I'm just going to go over a few more things. So gray matter is unmyelinated, so nerve impulses travel slower. White matter is myelinated, so nerve impulses travel quicker. Forebrain develops the telencephalon and diencephalon. Midbrain is the mesencephalon. Hindbrain is the metencephalon and the myelencephalon. Two inward folds extend between the parts of the brain, the phalanx cerebri and the phalanx cerebelli. The phalanx cerebri is obviously the cerebral hemispheres. The phalanx cerebelli is the cerebellum. The choroid plexus is a spongy mass of blood capillaries on the floor of each ventricle, secretes the cerebrospinal fluid. The ventricles are 4 fluid-filled interchambers within the brain. Lateral ventricles, each one in the cerebral hemisphere. Third ventricle is beneath the corpus callosum. The cerebral aqueduct runs through the midbrain and connects the third and fourth ventricle. Fourth ventricle is behind the pons, connects to the central canal, runs through the spinal cord. The epidema is the neural wheel that lines the ventricles and covers the choroid plexus and produces a small amount of the cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid it flows in one direction. It's driven by its own pressure and beating of the cilia and the pulsations of the brain produced by the heartbeat. It's secreted into the lateral ventricles, which then flows into the intervertebral foramina into the third ventricle, then down the cerebral aqueduct and into the fourth ventricle. Each third and fourth ventricle adds a little bit more CSF on the way. There's 3 functions of the cerebrospinal fluid: buoyancy, which add air pockets to make it lighter, protection, and then chemical stability. So if there's ever any brain loss to the spinal, if there's any blood loss to the brain, 10 seconds of interruption of blood flow, loss of consciousness, 1 to 2 minutes impairment of neural function, 4 minutes is irreversible brain damage. There are 4 pairs of cranial nerves, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Cardiac center adjusts the rate of heart. Vasomotor adjusts the blood vessel diameter. Respiratory centers control rate and depth of breathing. Reflex centers is coughing, stuff like that. Those are the 4 functions of the medulla oblongata. Ascending sensory tracts towards the nervous system, descending is away from the nervous system. The cranial nerves 5, 6, 7, and 8. Their sensory roles is hearing, equilibrium, taste, facial sensations. Motor roles are eye movement, facial expressions, chewing, swallowing, urination, secretion of saliva, and tears. Reticular formation in the pons contains additional nuclei, which is involved in sleep, respiration, and posture. The mesencephalon becomes one mature brain structure in the midbrain. It's a short segment of the brain stem that connects the hindbrain and the forebrain. Contains cerebral aqueduct, contains the motor nuclei of the 2 cranial nerves that control eye movements, so the oculomotor and the trochlear, so 3 and 4. Substantia nigra is the dark to black nucleus pigmented with myelin. It relays inhibitory signals to the thalamus and basal nuclei, preventing unwanted body movements. The somatic motor control adjusts the tension to maintain tone, balance, and posture. Gaze center allows eyes to track and fixate on objects. Central patterns generators, neural pools that produce rhythmic signals to the muscles, breathing and swallowing. Cardiovascular control includes cardiac and vasomotor centers of medulla oblongata. Pain modulation is one route by which pain signals from the lower body reach the cerebral cortex. The cerebellum is the largest of the hindbrain and the second largest of the brain as a whole. Consists of right and left cerebellar hemispheres connected by the vermis. Contains more than half of the brain neurons. White matter branching pattern, which is called the arbor vitae, the tree of life, because that's what it looks like. The cerebellar peduncles, 3 pairs of stalks that connect the cerebellum of the brainstem. It contains half of the granular and Purkinje cells and its gray matter. The functions of the cerebellum is sensory input, motor output. The evaluation of sensory input, if information is important or not. Timekeeping center, time to look from one to another, helps predict how much of the eyes must move in order to compensate for head movements and remain fixed on an object. Hearing, distinguishing pitch and similar sound in words, planning and scheduling tasks. Lesions may result in emotional overreactions and trouble with impulse control. The forebrain consists of the 2 parts, dicephalon and tephalon. The dicephalon is the thalamus, hypothalamus, and epithalamus. The tricephalon is the cerebrum. The gateway to the cerebral cortex is the thalamus. Is nearly all input to the cerebrum passes by the way of the synapse in the thalamic nuclei, filters information on its way to the cerebral cortex. Plays a key role in motor control by relaying signals from the cerebellum to the cerebrum. Involved in memory and emotional functions of the lymphatic system. For the hypothalamus forms all part of the walls of the 3rd, 4th ventricle, relays signal from the limbic system to the thalamus. It's a control center. The hormone secretion tries to block glucose from keeping in the heart, so it's a stress response. It regulates growth, metabolism, reproduction. Autonomic effects includes heart rate, blood pressure, thermoregulation, monitors body temperature, activate heat loss if its temp's too high, activates heat promoting if the temperature is too low. Food, water intake makes us hungry. Rhythm of sleep and waking, sleep patterns, memory, emotional behavior, regarding mammary nuclei receives signals from the hippocampus. The epithalamus is a very small mass of tissue composed of the pineal gland, the endocrine gland, the habenula, relay information from vagus system to the midbrain, sends information to endocrine glands and limbic system. The cerebrum, largest and most conspicuous part of the brain, seat of sensory perception, memory, thought, judgment, and voluntary actions. The gratification, sensations of pleasure, aversion, sensations of fear. There's 12 pairs of cranial nerves that are sensory, which is sensation, so 1, 2, and 7. Motor is movement, 3, 4, 6, 11, and 12. And mixed, 5, 8, 9, and 10. Alright, so everything else I've covered.